Ongoing Saleh work Zavde Abi Ahmad OLF. The Oromo conflict is an ongoing and long-standing conflict between the Oromo people and the Ethiopian government. The Oromo Liberation Front formed to fight the Ethiopian Empire to liberate the Oromo people and establish an independent Oromia state. The conflict began in 1973, when Oromo nationalists established the OLF and its armed wing, the Oromo Liberation Army. Under the Haile Selassie regime, the Oromo language was banned from use in education and in administrative matters. The Amhara culture dominated throughout the eras of military and monarchic rule. Both the Haile Selassie and Derg governments relocated numerous Amharas into southern Ethiopia, including present day of the Oromia region, where they served in government administration, courts, church and school, where Oromo texts were eliminated and replaced by Amharic. The Abyssinian elites perceived the Oromo identity and languages as hindrances to Ethiopian national identity expansion. Until 1991, the Amhara dominated politics in Ethiopia. The Oromo people are an ethnic group who predominantly inhabit Oromia and Ethiopia, along with communities in neighboring Kenya and Somalia. They are the largest ethnic group in Ethiopia and the wider Horn of Africa. According to a 2007 census, they make up about 34.5% of Ethiopia's population, and others estimate that they make up about 40% of the population. The Oromo remained independent until the last decade of the 19th century, when they were colonized by Abyssinia. Under the rule of Haile Selassie, the Oromo language was banned and speakers were privately and publicly mocked and held. Amhara culture and language dominated over cultures over the Oromo people in 1967. The imperial regime of Haile Selassie outlawed the Mecca and Tulema Self-Help Association, an Oromo social movement, and conducted mass arrests and executions of its members. The group's leader, Colonel General Tadas Birru, who was a prominent military officer, was among those arrested. The actions by the regime sparked outrage among the Oromo community, ultimately leading to the formation of the OLF in 1973. In 1974, the Ethiopian military ousted the imperial regime and seized control of the country. The new Derg regime promptly arrested Oromo leaders. Subsequently, the OLF was formed during a secret conference attended by Oromo leaders, including Hussein Sorar and Oromo Kiltu. A group of armed Oromo fighters in the Chirchir Mountains were adopted as the OLF's armed wing. The OLA increased its activities in the Chirchir Mountains, prompting the Ethiopian regime to send its military to the region to quell the insurrection. In June 1974, General Tadas Birru, an Oromo nationalist who had been arrested by the imperial regime in 1966 along with other high-ranking military officers, escaped from house arrest and joined Oromo rebels led by Hailu Rigasa in Sheva. Birru and Rigasa were later captured and executed by the Derg regime. In late August 1974, an Ola unit left their stronghold in the Chirchir Mountains and advanced closer to Jelemsa, hoping that nearby fully grown crops would be able to hide them from Ethiopian soldiers as they made their way towards other nearby towns. 3 of the unit's new recruits were unaccustomed to climbing long distances, so they spent the night around the bottom of the mountains, while the rest of the soldiers camped at the top. When an Ola soldier was sent to retrieve the 3 recruits, it was discovered that they had been killed by Ethiopian militiamen who had followed the unit to Tiro. A large group of Ethiopian policemen and militiamen surrounded the Ola position in the mountains, and the 2 opposing groups began to exchange gunfire. A group of Ethiopian soldiers led by General Getachew Shibeshi later arrived, and began to shell the stronghold with mortar rockets, killing most of the OLA's members, including Kiltu. The event became known as the Battle of Tiro. Contingents of the Ola continued to fight the regime after the battle and later gained a massive influx of recruits and volunteers after the Derg regime executed Birru and Rigasa. In 1976, the OLF established a stronghold in the Chirchir Mountains and began reorganizing itself. A congress was created by Oromo leaders, which revised the 1973 OLF political program and issued a new detailed program. The program called for the total liberation of the Oromo nation from Ethiopian colonialism. The conference is now known as the Founding Congress, and marked the beginning of modern Oromo nationalism. In the 1980s, the OLF estimated that they had over 10,000 soldiers. They were poorly equipped in comparison to other rebel groups in Ethiopia at the time, such as the Eritrean People's Liberation Front and the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front. The OLF also opened an office in Sudan in the 1980s, after its office in Somalia was closed down. During the 1980s, the government of Ethiopia was accused of using